Hello, good afternoon, and welcome. I'm Henry Wildberry, and today I am very excited to announce that I am going to be publishing a series of videos here on YouTube as they relate to this mysterious bike that you see sitting behind me. Now, I am going to show you what this bike is, but before I do, let me tell you a little bit about what this series is going to be about. Now, a few years ago, I had a custom-made steel bike made for me, and I've been riding that bike a lot ever since. And since that time, Miss Cools decided that she also wanted a custom steel bike, and she had the same frame builder build her a custom bike. Now, the frame builder's name is John Fitzgerald, and he's located in Santa Rosa, California. And now John has built this other custom steel bike that's sitting here behind me. John posted a photo of this bike on his Instagram account, and I reached out to him and asked if he would be willing to let me borrow that bike for a few weeks so that I could compare this bike to my bike, because there are some subtle differences to it that I have been curious to know more about. Now, those differences are, it has slightly different tubing sizes, and it has a higher trail front steering, as well as some other things. And I'm going to show you this bike. I'm going to talk about all the specs of this bike today, and then in the next video we're going to dive into a specific topic. I think the first thing we'll talk about is how the different tube sizes change the ride characteristics or ride quality, and then we're going to look at how the bike handles with a front load. Does it shimmy? Is it too flexy? Is it too noodly? Those are the kind of things we're going to be talking about in this video series. So let me introduce you to this bike. Okay, so let's start up here at the top. So the first thing you'll notice is that it is a steel frame and a steel fork. This bike is TIG welded. It has an oversized down tube, a standard diameter top tube, a standard diameter seat tube, and pretty much standard everything else with the exception of this down tube. So this bike has the oversized down tube. It also has a straight blade steel fork, and it has an 1.1" steering tube with a threadless stem and headset. It has a randonneering style handlebar with the kind of upsweep and the flare. This is a little bit wider than the bar I'm currently using. I think this is something like a 44 centimeter wide handlebar. You probably already noticed that it has a brake lever shifter here on the right hand brake lever and no shifter on the left hand side. That's because it does have a 1x drivetrain. Whoops, we almost lost it here. So let me show you the drivetrain. So the drivetrain is comprised of a Sun XCD crank. This is a 172.5 crank with a interesting chainring on it. This is a Specialties TA narrow wide chainring. I think this is a 42 or a 44 tooth chainring. On the back we have a SRAM Rival 11-speed derailleur, I believe. And this is an 11-speed cassette with a wide range from 10 to 46. This is a 10 to 46 cassette. And this bike has, coming back up to the saddle here, I should say, this is a Brooks saddle. Now, for the last 2 years, I've been riding a Gilbertude saddle. And prior to that, I was riding a Brooks saddle. And so it was really interesting to come back and start riding this bike with the Brooks saddle on it. It is a very familiar feel, and I was really pleasantly surprised when I got back on this bike how much I still really like Brooks saddle. So Brooks saddles are fantastic. The other kind of interesting feature or different feature to this bike than my bike is that this is a 700C bike with 48mm wide tires. As some of you know, my custom steel bike was built around 650B wheels and 48mm wide tires. So these are a little bit bigger wheels. And John made this bike with a little bit larger bottom bracket drop. This is an 80, I believe this is an 80mm bottom bracket drop, whereas my bike has a 68mm bottom bracket drop. The chain stays here are actually fairly short for how large of a diameter this wheel is. These, I believe, came in at 42.5 centimeters, so quite tucked in the rear end. It is so tucked, in fact, that you can see that there's only about 3 to 4 millimeters of clearance here between the tire and the seat tube, and that is a knobby tire. So this does have a little bit taller tread than you might see on a slick tire. So overall, this bike is sort of a geometry like you would find on a typical gravel bike these days. It has a 73-degree seat tube, a 73-degree head tube. It has a 50mm fork rake, so the trail number comes somewhere in the mid-60s, I would guess, based on the tire diameter. And so it's very much a kind of modern, it's a modern style of gravel bike made out of with steel tubing, but the difference being that it has rim brakes instead of more common disc brakes. That's the bike that I'll be riding for the next few weeks, and I'm going to be going back over some of those previous topics that we covered and trying to do a few short videos where I describe the difference on how this bike rides, how it feels with the oversized top tube, with the larger wheels, the higher trail, and what it does, how it handles with a front load. So anyway, I hope this video series sounds interesting to some of you out there, and that you will come back and check it out. And if you're in the market for a custom steel bike, hopefully this will give you some more things to think about and consider when you start to work out the bike design with your frame builder. So until next time, have a nice day, have a nice evening, and we will see you soon.